Listen, Donald Trump is a piece of shit. Okay, we know that. Yes. He is. But in a functioning democracy, he still would not be able to get away with this. But he's been able to get away with this because the House Republicans are complicit. He's been able to get away with this because Senate Republicans are complicit. But most importantly, the courts, especially the Supreme Court, is complicit.
Now, it's not what we're doing. We're going through her life story and explaining exactly where she comes from and exposing her as the code-switching fraud that she is. But her staffers have decided to help us in that effort and explain that Jasmine Crockett is a no-show boss from hell who terrorizes her staffers and aides. All diva and no show. Let's rock and roll with this article from the New York Post. Jasmine Crockett has positioned herself as an unfiltered critic of President Trump, earning regular TV appearances and enthusiastic online following. But congressional aides tell the Post that the Dallas Democrat is rude and mean to her own staff. The liberal loudmouth 44 has rocketed to fame since taking office in January 2023, an angry and fiery antagonist of the Republican president and his allies. But three sources who have worked for, with, or currently work with Jasmine Crockett say she's rarely present when TV cameras aren't rolling and terrorizes her staff when she does appear. Does that shock anyone? Does it shock anybody? Of course, the nature of the low IQ individual. Crockett is not often found at her government-provided suite in the Longworth House office building, with insiders saying that she prefers to work from her nearby luxury apartment building, sometimes for weeks on end. She's laying around in her apartment and won't come into the office and is really just indifferent to staff and will scream at them, says a former aide. She is never in the office and is very disengaged. She does her bullshit that goes viral and then freaks out over the most random things. A second source close to Crockett's team added, "It is widely known that she is not nice to staff and just not a nice person. She's not a dedicated member focused on constituents. She is focused almost exclusively on being an influencer, not a member of Congress." A third source who has worked for Crockett described her as all diva, no wow. You're stupid if you think so. When Crockett does show up for work on Capitol Hill, often to attend committee hearings where she deploys a made-for-social media attack on Trump, she prefers to have staff members drive her the short distance from her office in a rented car rather than the staffer's own, a cheaper option used by lawmakers. The staffer is expected to stand outside the vehicle, which has to be an Escalade or similar, and open the door for her. You're technically allowed to do this, but it's wildly inefficient. Instead of using the scheduler's car, she rents a car every week in D.C. She expects her staff to drive her around while she's in the back seat, calling it a power play akin to treating a staffer like an Uber driver. Oh my. Crockett, a former criminal defense attorney and Texas legislator, burst into the national spotlight in 2024 when she attacked Marjorie Taylor Greene at a committee hearing as a bleach blonde butch body. While Crockett tried to fundraise off the Real Housewives style of crash out, the Congresswoman staff, which includes multiple gay and lesbian members, were left with mixed feelings. Complaints poured in from lesbians who objected to Crockett's derogatory use of butch. It's amazing. You just can't win if you're woke. It's so great. She told her gay staff members, "That's not offensive. You're stupid if you think so." It was kind of like how Trump says, "Gays love me." 3 months later, Crockett was given a coveted speaking slot at the DNC convention, where she ripped the former and future president as vindictive, vile villain. Toxic staff environment. Crockett has burned through employees at such a pace that she's now becoming known as a present-day version of the late Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. long called Capital's toughest boss, or dumbest boss, lowest IQ boss, right? Low IQ people are terrible to work for. A number of staff have become fed up with their treatment, while others have either been fired or left on their own. Dysfunction is difficult to discern in Washington, D.C. Some former aides cited fear of retribution, declining to participate in the story. She thinks she's her own best advisor. She knows best. And all this toxic staff environment, she gets rid of press people because she's like, I do all the press stuff. On one occasion, described in the Post, Crockett reduced a legislative aide to tears, bellowing, "Do you really want to be here? And if not, you can leave." Another aide, a young black woman, was fired abruptly and confided to a colleague, "I don't want to hear Jasmine talk about helping black women when she fired me for no reason." Capitol jobs are often filled based on personal connections and openings that circulate among friends groups. A source told the Post that the job listing for Crockett's team recently was shared among a large group of black Democrat women, and nobody expressed interest in the gig. You would think working for a black woman, if you were a young black woman or a person of color, you would feel empowered in that space as a former Democrat congressional aide. But truly, the only person that she thinks about or cares about is herself. The staff is really just an island unto itself because she doesn't care about the local issues happening in her district. Well, that's been obvious when we were there today. It is an absolute hellscape. She's more focused on get me on The View, get me on this late night show. A lot of congressional hearings are mostly boring, basic stuff. So how is it that at every hearing it's about Trump? It's about Trump again and again and again. She's not actually doing any real work. She's at a hearing so that she can bring up Trump every single time and get on MSNBC. Okay, this is great. She causes some kind of tension and issue. The hearing has to stop. The chairman has to bang the gavel. It's like a spectacle in a show. Not everything has to be clipped for MSNBC. Crockett has also cycled through several chiefs of staff, with one observer saying because they want her to do her actual job, and the actual job as a member of Congress isn't fun or glamorous unless you're somebody who's willing to say yes to all the outrageous things. You're not going to last long. This looks like crap. Crockett has been coy about her treatment of staff, recently offering 2 examples of rough treatment of subordinates in an interview from The Atlantic magazine. Behind the scenes, the representative speaks casually. She also can be burlesque. During the interview at the Waldorf, she dialed up a staffer in D.C. in front of me and scolded him for an unclear note on her schedule. Another time in the car, after an aide brought Crockett a paper bag full of food from a fundraiser, she peered inside, scrunched her nose, and said, "This looks like crap." So she's getting carted around like a princess. She's getting her staff to do like private Ubering for her. And then when they get her food, she's treating them like garbage. The Texas Congresswoman, despite granting this Atlantic writer access to the profile, attempted to retract her interview remarks when the journalist didn't ask her permission to request comment for another member of Congress, most of whom reportedly would not volunteer flattering words. The lawmaker claimed she was shutting down the profile and revoking all permissions. It wasn't Crockett's first self-inflicted PR problem. In May, she allegedly boarded a commercial flight while 2 handicapped people were standing in front of her. Her cutting in line in front of a handicapped person is really indicative of the kind of person she is. She interrupted, very rude, and doesn't get along with anyone. The Post did not receive a reply after sending multiple detailed emails requesting comments for this article. Nobody answered the phones at her DC or Dallas offices during the workday. Both went straight to voicemail. I'm just telling you that this is probably the #1 article on the internet today. It is all over. And her staffers are now backstabbing her. Never a great look. Jasmine Crockett is now being exposed as a monster and the trash that she is. And it could happen to a better person. It's all theater for her. She clearly is just simply code switching here. And nobody should be proud of this at all. She's not qualified at all. And she needs to go.
That's all for today. Thank you. If you want global news to keep you up to date on any new developments, please subscribe our channel and forward our content with your friends on social media and email. Thank you very much for keep supporting me. Stay safe, be blessed. Namaste.
Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.